Good morning, LinkedIn. Welcome to Let's Build Daily. I'm your host, Chris Carolan. Uh, Super excited today to unbox yet another new um, experience, I think is the best way to call it, because it's a bunch of features that some have existed, some haven't, uh, curated in a way that makes this system easier to use in the context of multiple teams in the system doing multiple things, right? So we're going to be unboxing the Customer Success Workspace that is currently a beta that you have to sign up for. So you'll find it in your updates, in your product updates area, right at the top of the list right now. If you click on betas, um, and I've added a link in the chat already or in the comments to this is one of the things being announced today as an all new piece of Service Hub. And I'm not going to go into detail here, but this is a great new page where you can get information about everything new HubSpot. And I love this from them because one of the biggest weaknesses right now is the disconnect between what people know about HubSpot and what HubSpot actually is and can do. Like, I'm gonna be saying it for a long time. It's no longer the marketing tool or the sales tool or even just the CRM. All this stuff together is a customer platform. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner your life can be a lot easier with access to tools that you don't necessarily have to pay more for. They might just be sitting in your portal and you're not using them. So let's unbox Customer Success Workspace. Effectively manage your portfolio in one place. Interesting use of the word portfolio there. But for me, it's like all of the things that need to be managed that you have some responsibility to, related to your business after, after the customer gives you money. So this could be like an install base, right? Not just for software, but for hardware too, right? So again, I love the where we're going here. Customer Success Workspace setup. To get started, we need to set up your workspace with the appropriate data. This will allow your workspace to accommodate your team's processes and prioritize important insights for you and your CSMs. And I'll just like a bit of transparency here. The description that I had that's pulled from the beta, was a turnoff for me in some capacity because it said, now you can see deals and tickets together. Right. And I'm a big proponent of like customer success teams. Again, they need to manage the things after the sale. They need to see information from deals and tickets, but those aren't necessarily the objects that they should be, managing. So, while that was a turnoff, I was not prepared for this screen. So many things in HubSpot, like this is just a starting point, right? They've got to start somewhere, and knowing that they continually update and improve and update and improve, like just creating this space that I know can be supportive of this, full revenue team approach, not mixing sales, service, and, trying to use I just love it. It's creating this space for this team that is going to help a lot of orgs fit this in. So select the object you want to use to represent your accounts. So we have HubSpot standard objects, and this is cool. It's like when I saw deals and tickets in the description, I was like, well, I hope I can bring custom objects in there too. Like, beautiful, you can. So And do we really need another object to represent our accounts other than companies, though? I don't know. Select the property you use to represent CSM assignments. This is the part where, the SaaS world creeps in. Like CSM, probably unknown to a lot of industrial manufacturing companies in terms of we don't have any CSMs at our organization. I've never heard that acronym before. But the intent is who's managing the customer and the customer experience after the sale. I have company owner as the option here. So it looks like we're preparing for, different ownership of different records throughout the org, which is super important because so many times, like the object owner is not representative. You have a bunch of other people doing work, and that's when you get led to, okay, well, sales uses this thing most of the time, so I guess the owner has to be sales, and then we'll figure out other ways to notify people. We'll just create all this other work in the system to like make automation of ownership notifications and tasks and stuff like that easier. So I look forward to that. Select the property used to represent your customer renewal date. Okay, so again, super SaaS focused. This will be huge for them. And I'll have to learn about like what is loading this. What is it pulling it from? Like it must be looking for some kind of date on the company record, right? Is that really the only date that exists right now? But I'm not going to use that. So we can also set up later if we need to. Save. Okay. So very similar feel to the prospecting workspace. And again, between records, between object setup and object views, right? There's only so much you can do. And the more you try to differentiate there, it just creates more and more complexity. So if you can create a workspace, so that the customer success team in this case is working out of here, and that space is automatically pulling information from all the records, and it creates a home base. Like that should be a lot easier. So if you haven't seen the prospecting space, it's generally like meant to, okay, here's your day. Here's what matters to you. Here's the answers to the questions you'd be asking yourself every day as a rep. And yeah, so pretty straightforward if we just do some of this, right? All right, so portfolio. We've got, so companies. And then, okay, so lots of information here. So I'm actually going to move into a different space. And hopefully this can be okay. And we'll just go back, and I think we've got in beta. Let's see, customer success. All right, so join the beta in this other portal, and we'll see how quickly that gets loaded, which may take a few minutes. So we'll come back to, let's just open up another tab here. All right. And then we'll come to customer success. Okay. So again, pulling together information that's important to the user, and really hopeful that this comes up. It took about 5 minutes yesterday. But something I want to talk about is, all right, so it showed a little bit of which objects are loading. And as soon as we have this other available option, I'm going to actually, let me just stop screen sharing for a second. And because I want to be able to look in the pipelines, but obviously in our portal, we have some stuff that I probably shouldn't be, showing to everybody. And I can do some setup here. All right, so we go support. And, but hopefully that will allow, so I'm going to come over here and now we can share. Again, sorry for that delay. All right. Yeah, I just noticed Stuart's comment from earlier. The power of HubSpot, it's similar to, the human brain, in that we use 10% of our brains, whatever. Most people are barely scratching the surface when it comes to HubSpot. Ultimately, HubSpot wants to sell you all of the hubs for much more than financial reasons, but that's certainly one of them. But if you use all of them, you will get more value, like guaranteed, from the tools. So I'm hearing from a lot of people that that's the value that they get out of working with partners, is that having somebody to keep up with HubSpot on your behalf is huge, right? It's impossible. It's really hard for internal stakeholders to keep up, because this is such a department, expansive tool. So I'm just going to check this screen one more time. And okay. So back in our portal, clicked on the pipelines and we have these options. So, because I misunderstood a little bit, but I'm hopeful that we can get other pipelines as far as, because all of the custom objects have pipelines, right? Even the life cycle stages for companies and contacts are being shown as, you can kind of treat them as pipelines in some areas of HubSpot now, right? So for me, it goes well beyond deals and tickets. And the way that I view these two and how they've been built, right, and the teams that use them, are deals are for, sales management. So if I'm in customer success, I do want to see, like, any renewal plans or like revenue related activities to the account, right? Making sure upgrades are visible, upsells, cross sells, stuff like that. Tickets, I mean, in every system I've ever seen them in, are very help desk oriented, in that we are reacting to something to some request, either internal or external, and we need a process to manage that, you know, our reaction to it, like, and the successful delivery of, you know, our answer to that request, whether it be just, you know, giving answers or actually fixing stuff, right? But when I think of proactive customer success, it is not tickets. It is something that represents the thing that we need to be managing, right? So that's our whole, like, if you've been following my content, talk a lot about, you know, client portal aspect and how to set it up so that, you know, people don't care about the status of the order. They care about the status of the thing in the order. So if they have 5 things that they ordered, they care about the status of all 5. Maybe they're shipping at different times. Maybe they're installed at 5 different locations and they have different lifespans, right? Because I could get one right now, but the next one gets installed next year, right? So they have different warranty timelines, and I've got to manage those things, trying to fit that into an order or some other package where I can't break out the 5 things easily doesn't work, right? And so the deliverable object in my mind is the customer success object because it's the thing, right? There's no thing object in HubSpot. You have contacts, which are people, companies that are the org, deals, which is the sales to manage, and tickets, which are, you know, the requests to be managed, right? And we've used deals and tickets in a way that, you know, helps us manage projects because it was the only mechanism in HubSpot that has like a stage and gate, you know, management process, right? So we put any kind of process for our org, including onboarding activities, right? In those places because that's where we could do it. But if there's something like, it's like there's dynamic management, like, so an asset, let's say if you have rental and there's an asset that you need to manage in the same way, but also dynamically over and over and over, right? Either you got to redo the warranty or you got to ship it out, or maybe it's going to come back like for returns, right? And if you kind of put all that into tickets, right, you're managing the request and not the asset, right? And it's a huge difference there. So I'm excited about customer success because I know a lot of the platforms out there from a SaaS perspective are about, you know, not only are we tracking all the communications, all the engagement with the person, but are we tracking their engagement with our product, like product usage, right? And I get real excited. You know, I come from the world of XRF and X-ray analysis instrumentation, and all those instruments, right? Some better than others, track things like, you know, number of hours that the X-ray tube has been installed or number of days, or like, and we set up these manual processes where instead of the software just automatically sending notifications and, you know, let's say even auto purchasing a replacement part, right? Instead of that, because the software is just maintained on the instrument locally, or maybe it's even in the cloud, but it's not connected to anything, right? It requires some person, some service person to go either from their desk remotely or on site to log into the software and check the hours and then say, hey, it's time for a replacement, right? Creating a thing, this object, this deliverable, and it can take many different forms. You know, assets is one of those forms. Now you have a place for that data. And if you could bring that data over into HubSpot, now, I mean, just the power, it unlocks the customer lifecycle management you say you want to do and the product lifecycle management you say you want to do. right? And this is stuff that B2C companies have been doing for a long time, right? Planned obsolescence, all that stuff is not a new game. The new game is now it's more affordable than ever for B2B to be able to play that game in an automated way where they actually realize the value. If you, and this is like working with known information, like HubSpot should be built out, the structure should be based on known information so that you can be ready for the unknown information and then act accordingly, right? So if you know you've been missing a place to manage warranty information or your asset information or the product life cycles, and you simply create that space. Now, the fact that we've created that object because we need to do the thing in this place, as HubSpot creates this customer success area, it's going to get easier and easier and easier to include that because the strategy has already changed to say we need a place for customer success to exist, right? Our sales reps are not full funnel. Our service reps are only reacting. And this, like, when you're in reaction mode and there is no sales process, how in the hell are you going to hit cross-sell, upsell, resell goals through your service team? You're not, and you never do. So you put these revenue numbers on the service team because you've seen other people do it. You know there's good margins, but then you don't put your people in a position to be successful because you're making them do that shit out of an ERP, which isn't built to do it. You're making them do it without sales management, without sales process, because you're making the assumption because all the revenue currently comes in is reactive. And when it's a break fix, they got to pay most of the time. So there is no sales process. It's like, hey, I need this done. But when it comes to renewal of service contracts or even planned obsolescence, I mean, that's real product strategy that people do, but then you don't realize nearly enough revenue from the product update that you know is hitting the market. And if you got 100 people that have the 2020 version of the part, and you know, not only will they all benefit from the 2024 version, but there's no reason you shouldn't realize all that revenue from that upgrade. Why in the world would you leave that to chance, basically? Like, you're in control of whether or not the customer knows about that thing, right? Prior to them being a customer, you're not in control. All you can do is put the message out there in valuable ways, and hope they see it, right? As you build a relationship, making sure they see it gets easier. But once they are a customer, it is your job to make sure they know everything they need to know to be successful with your products and with their investment. And that's why it's called customer success and not customer service, right? Are we always serving customers? Yes. But customer success is proactive. Are we making sure the customer is in a great position to be successful? And it's subtle. And I know everybody wants to just kind of not worry about the nuance of all this, but that is a huge difference between the phrase customer success and customer service, right? And they don't replace, like, we're not trying to replace the service team. We cannot replace the service team. But the fact is there's a ton of things you've been wanting to do, a ton of revenue you've been wanting to realize that you haven't, because everybody's doing these manual tasks. They're doing $10 an hour work. Meanwhile, they have $500 an hour value. And they're certainly charging that sometimes. But when they're doing $10 an hour work, a lot of customers aren't up for that. Like, okay, so you came up here to my place of business just so you could log into my computer and tell me that my hours are almost done. And there's no way for you to get that remotely, right? There's no way for you to notify me of that like I can like everywhere else in my life, right? This is what is meant by customer experience. So when we take that off of the plate of the field service guys and gals, and there's less travel time and there's less admin work, now all the value that we know we could provide and will provide to the organization by creating training courses, like those service people that give the training, now they're free to do the training because they're not mired in this activity. Preventative maintenance becomes real and actually preventative. So there's less, emergencies. Obviously, I'm a bit, passionate about this, and this wasn't kind of the unboxing that I hoped it would be. But the point is like, here we go. And we'll just do it one more time, right? And a good change to note here is in a different system, different options. Okay, so this is definitely property from the company owner. And interesting that I don't have the choice of owner here. So I'll have to look into what triggers that. So now we have our summary, connecting the calendar. And these are some of the most mundane things that are so powerful once you just get your team to do it. So as you're introducing these things, that's a huge point. As you try to use these new things, stuff like this gets highlighted real quick, right? So if there's a service person that you've brought into HubSpot, right, and you gave the message that said, hey, everybody connect your calendars, here's the how-to video, right? And the person that has the problem on the call, when you're trying to help everybody set it up and they're like, okay, I'll get to you later. And then they don't, right? As you see these new spaces where it's like, okay, to do your job, all these things are important. And if you're not logging emails and your calendar is not connected, you are not going to get the value. The system doesn't get used. Management doesn't get the visibility they want. Customers can't see the information in their customer portal because it's not done. So then we just don't use the customer portal. Like, again, it's not a replacement for people. It's a replacement for all of the gray area BS that just is the real source of waste inside these companies, right? And you have the tool, you have access to the tools now. And this is where it is now. This is not like, I love HubSpot, so that's why I'm suggesting it. The last year and a half of HubSpot updates has been huge, and a lot of this stuff was not possible. So literally, I would not have been able to recommend HubSpot the way that I am in saying, HubSpot plus, for most manufacturing organizations, HubSpot plus the right ERP should take care of everything in the business. Everything, right? And it is about getting that 360-degree view of a customer and the 360-degree view of the stuff, right? Or the thing that I've been talking about, the products and services that you sell. And that's where product management wise, product lifecycle wise, the functionality of HubSpot is not there yet. There's places to understand the data now, but that data has got to be created somewhere else. It's got to be maintained and managed somewhere else. Like, so manufacturing pipelines and inventory management and product lifecycle management, well, we could build that out now in HubSpot. There are other systems that are better at doing it, right? So drawing the line somewhere and understanding that you're going to use HubSpot for customer experience management and communications management, which creates that 360-degree view of the human beings you're trying to do business with. but we're using something else to to drive and be the engine of the non-people data, like the 360-degree view of the stuff. How are we managing that, after the sale? Costs, expenses, margins. Like, maybe HubSpot gets there someday. I think they will, honestly. I don't think they'll ever touch accounting, but, who knows? It's just an acquisition away, probably. But why are they doing this? Because that's the only way you get to the true customer, the true 360-degree view of the customer, right? You got to have everybody that's interacting with customers and processes that support those customers. You got to at least have visibility of all of that inside of the place that you want the 360-degree view, right? So many people rely on ERPs because they have the 360-degree view of the stuff and the money, right? I mean, I'll just say the stuff. Actually, there's plenty of examples of not achieving that. And that's this whole front end of the process. Like when we're doing free trials, when we're creating $0 products in the ERP, and then we put it out in the field for a trial, or we take it to a trade show and we're not tracking it at all, right? Like adding this front end piece, this customer facing piece, this platform designed to help all your customer facing teams. Now you can track that stuff. It doesn't make sense to track that in the ERP. It's not built to track unknown objects, unknown things for the business, right? That's why when you try to do opportunities, and orders over there, I just haven't seen a good execution, of that. And when you can draw that line, all of a sudden accounting gets easier, all that other stuff. And a lot of people draw a hard line. Like it doesn't come into the ERP until it's real, right? And so I get a little excited about this stuff, folks. So portfolio. So there are no companies that match your filter criteria. So I kind of misjudged this at the beginning, but I'm not sure if I'm actually misjudging what we want this to be doing. I'm sure in some context, portfolio of companies makes sense, but I could definitely see like portfolio of assets makes sense to me for some reason. Then we have our pipelines. So right now it's set up for deal and ticket pipelines. I pray that we can add in custom objects, just like it asked for at the beginning, because this is really where proactivity on behalf of the customer comes into play. And just imagine if, we have deliverable pipelines, and then we can see like all the hardware that needs to be installed, all the software that needs to be installed, all of the trainings that need to go along with that, all the service contracts, right? There's just the stuff, right? There's just stuff to be managed, and we need a non-deal, non-ticket place for that stuff. Then we have our schedule. Again, can't see a schedule if you don't have the calendar connected. And then we have our feed, right? So activity types. And I'm curious how we might filter this down, or how the filtering down works. And for me, I'm just curious how HubSpot is messaging this. So I'm going to come over and check out this page. So we got AI, we got Content Hub, right? We got Service Hub. So this is within the Service Hub. And again, all this makes sense in the case of like, a new customer is 20 times more expensive to gain, like than making the new customer happy and getting more revenue from them. Use our all new Customer Success Workspace to keep your customers smiling from ear to ear. Proactively manage your book of business with actionable insights, customer health scores, and real-time usage data. See this real-time usage data? I'm excited for that, but it's going to take some innovation for people to think about it outside of SaaS. But this is going to be super powerful. There's lots of manufacturers that are already using cloud-based data systems. But when you can match this with like physical product usage, like these become insanely more valuable, right? Because you remove a lot of the subjectivity from the process. Like if your guy is only scheduled to go every 6 months to check on a customer, how could they possibly know about usage? So I'm excited for this. I think just seeing customer success called out in this way is a huge step in the right direction. And loving what is to come and the direction of all of this whole workspace, concept. Well, like, yeah, it's looking good, folks. And if anybody wants help thinking about how, like, I'm not in SaaS, but I think this could apply to me, please reach out. I love talking about use cases for HubSpot. Everybody finds a way to use it differently, but usually in the name of the same things, which are customer experience and revenue. So with that said, lots of opportunity here. So I challenge you to find that opportunity and let's grow.